Hey guys, we wanted to talk about housing today. We've been getting a lot of questions about our move to Alaska and what we did for housing. So we just want to give you a brief overview of what we typically do to find housing at contracts, and we're going to show you around our place in Alaska.
Yeah, it's no secret that housing is more expensive and harder to find now than ever, especially short-term housing. And we've been lucky enough or unlucky enough to go to some amazing places, including Hawaii last year, Alaska this year, that are in high demand. And so we have definitely experienced that housing price inflation.
Yeah, so in general, there's a bunch of different options for how you guys can go about trying to find short-term housing. One of the main go-tos is a website called Furnished Finder, which is a website kind of like Airbnb, but it's only for healthcare travelers, quite often for travel nurses, but therapists can find housing on there too. You can also look on Facebook housing groups. Again, a lot of those are named as travel nurse housing is what you want to search. There's a dozen or more of those on Facebook. There's other options like Craigslist. In the past, we did find some places on Craigslist. You just have to be really cautious about scammers.
Yeah, and it seems like there's a lot more scammers than normal right now since housing is so in demand. And we found a couple places actually on Craigslist, which we don't recommend to a lot of new people anymore because it is so much easier to get scammed there. But in reality, you can get scammed anywhere, including Furnish Finder, Facebook groups. So just be careful anywhere, especially about sending money to someone before you've actually seen the place. That's in some cases you can't get around sending some money, but definitely don't send a lot of money before you even see a place, or at least have a video tour of a place so you know that it's more legit.
Yeah, we have some more tips on that in just a minute, but a few other options for searching besides those resources are asking your facility. So asking the manager you're gonna be working with, see if they can ask around if they know somebody who's rented before. If it's like a hospital system or a big company, you can ask the HR department if they have any resources. You can also just look up apartment complexes, although it is harder if you're only going to be there for a short time to do like an unfurnished place, because then you're gonna have to go through all the hassle of setting up all the utilities and things. But sometimes apartment complexes will do furnished short-term rentals. It just depends. You can search terms like corporate housing, long-term or short-term stay, extended stay motels, things like that. You can also contact local realtors in the area. Sometimes they might know about short-term rentals, or some of them might have properties themselves or have friends that have properties themselves. So you have to get creative when it comes to searching for housing.
Yeah, and here in Anchorage, we had a lot of trouble. So we pretty much exhausted all of those options. And we ended up finding a place. We really had very few options.
So a funny thing about the whole scamming situation, because it's so far away, obviously we couldn't really do a lot to look at a place in advance. We were in Virginia and we were going to Alaska. So we went through a lot of options on Furnished Finder, and it was so difficult. Like, so many of them didn't even get back to me, or they said they had 7 applicants already. So we ended up finding one that seemed like a really good deal on Furnished Finder. And we thought we had everything set up, but then once we got into the let's sign a lease, let's move forward with a deposit, they ended up asking us to send all of the money for all 3 months in advance via a wire transfer. And that's when things started to get a little sketchy for us.
Yeah, and it was a really strange situation because Whitney talked to this lady on the phone several times. It sounded very legit. Everything sounded good to us. It had reviews on like VRBO, and but she was insistent on a wire transfer, which is always a red flag anyway, because it's impossible to reverse a wire transfer. So a lot of scammers will insist on that. And then when the contract came for us to sign, we thought we pretty much had everything agreed upon. They changed the terms, and they said that they wanted 2 equal payments of half of the amount before we ever arrived, which would have been over $6,000 that we're sending to this person that we've never met before we ever see the place. Which is completely unreasonable.
Yeah, so at that point, even though that was like one of our better and like cheaper options, we decided it just really wasn't worth it to risk getting scammed. So I was kind of giving up. I was even thinking about looking into unfurnished places, which we have not done before, but I was, gonna look into some different options. But I had made a post a couple weeks before that on one of the Facebook housing groups, and someone who actually hadn't listed their place yet, but was getting ready to list their place, messaged me saying that she was getting ready to list her place and wanted to know if we were interested. Now, it was actually way out of our price range. Spoiler alert, it's the place we're in now. So it was way out of our price range. It was way bigger than what we actually needed. However, she was actually a former travel nurse, the landlord, and she was willing to do a video chat with me. We actually FaceTimed, and she showed me the whole place in person. She had prior reviews for a different property on Airbnb. So we felt just so much more comfortable with the situation. And so even though it was actually way more expensive and way bigger of a place than what we needed, we just decided to go for it because we were actually happy to have a little bit bigger of a place. For one, we're only working part-time, so we're spending several days a week here working on our online business. And also we want to have extra rooms just in case we have visitors. So it wasn't necessarily our first choice to go with like a 3-bedroom house that's a little bit pricier, but it's what we ended up with.
Yeah, we actually in the past have never rented anything bigger than a 1-bedroom when we did furnished places. And this place, well, Hawaii was the most expensive we'd ever paid before. I think it was $1,800 a month. Mm-hmm. $1,800 a month we paid in Hawaii, and that was a very small 1-bedroom, almost an efficiency. And Alaska had some options that were comparable to that. This place we ended up paying more for, but when you consider what we got for it, it's probably a better deal than what we got in Hawaii. Even though we don't need all the space, it's actually a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house. So it's a pretty big place.
Yeah, so it's 3 furnished bedrooms, and then one of them is an office, which is really convenient. So we ended up we're paying about $2,400 a month, which again is way more than we've ever paid before, but we've definitely spoken to other travelers in Hawaii, Alaska, California, and some bigger cities that have paid in the $2,000 to $3,000 a month range. So it's not that abnormal. But for those of you guys, especially if you're a solo traveler, if you really want to save money, the best way is to try to get a roommate situation where you might be renting just 1 room in an apartment or 1 room in somebody's house. In the past, we've also stayed, even as a couple, in like a furnished basement apartment or an in-law suite, an over the garage apartment, things like that, where it's like kind of attached to somebody's house, but you still have your privacy. So look for things like that to try to save more money. If you're gonna rent a 1 or a 2 or a 3-bedroom place all by yourself, you're gonna pay more.
In my opinion, something like a furnished basement that has a kitchen or an in-law suite that has a kitchen is the ideal, because then it's not the full price of a normal place, but you still have your own space. So that's kind of perfect for us. For an individual traveler, if I was traveling by myself, I would probably just rent a room in a house and save a lot of money that way, but it's not so realistic for our situation. So it all depends on your specific situation.
Yep. Absolutely. So that's a little bit about just finding housing in general, but we'd love to give you a quick tour of our place. It's a really beautiful place, so even though we're paying a bit more than we wanted to, we're extremely comfortable here. It's gorgeous. The landlord really went over and beyond to make this place very, very comfortable.
Yeah, so Whitney's going to be the tour host, and I will video.
All right. Okay, so we are in the living room. We have a really gorgeous large couch, which is super cozy. To watch movies and hang out in here. It's a really big living space. They actually have 2 different fireplaces. Now we're here in the summer, so we probably won't need the fireplaces, but that would be really nice in the winter. And then it's an open floor plan to this kitchen, and they have every gadget that we could ever need. The landlord has really gone out of her way to make sure that we have everything we need. Actually, a blender and a toaster got delivered today just for us, so that was really nice. It's so nice to have your own space to cook when you're on contract. We're looking forward to making more of our own meals and meal prepping a little bit to save on costs, as well as keep better control of our diet while we're on this assignment. We have a dining area, and then there's just kind of like a little nook out there that has some pantry space and things like that.
Yeah, this actually, what I figured out is this used to be a balcony that they closed in and just made like this little space here, which actually could be an office by itself if you wanted to do that.
Yes, it's just a nice little space to have some extra storage and things. They even provided an Instant Pot for us, which is going to be great for making some meals. So we're on the upstairs level of the house. And on this level, in addition to the dining and the living area, there's a guest bedroom and the office and a full bathroom up here. So here's the first full bathroom. So that would be great to have just when we're upstairs, as well as when we have guests. Here's one of the guest bedrooms. Very nice. Lots of nice furniture here. Lots of light, because right now we're in the time of year in Alaska where it's light pretty much all the time.
Yeah, and this is actually the room that we ideally would like to stay in, because it's closer to the living room, the kitchen, and everything. But it gets pretty hot up here, we found, and so it's kind of nicer to be downstairs for
yeah, cooler. With heat rises in a 2-story place, as well as with all the sun coming in during the day, it gets really warm up here. So we decided to stay in the basement instead, or on the lower level. And then this is the room that they use as an office, so this is really convenient for us. You know, Jared and I, when we are working, like when we travel internationally, we're often in very small like hotel rooms or Airbnbs, and so we pretty much learn to work anywhere from our laptops, you know, on the couch, on the bed, whatever, but it's actually really nice to have an actual office for once, extra little couch here.
Yeah, that's really nice, especially to have separate rooms for us so that we're not working and bothering each other all the time, which definitely happens.
Okay, and then we'll go downstairs onto the main level. So this is the front door where you come in. They have this really nice place to put your shoes and coats and things, so that way we're not wearing shoes in the house, messing up the carpet. This is really convenient for all the different like boots and sneakers and all that stuff we have. We can put in here, hang our coats and that sort of thing.
This is a door to the garage. There's a 2-car garage here that we sort of have access to, but not really. We're not going to use it at all.
Yeah, they have some storage stuff in there. They're actually renovating a different property, and so they have some stuff stored here right now. But again, we just don't even need all this space.
Yeah.
We're only here for 3 months, although this would be a wonderful place to live full time. There's like tons of closets and just so much storage space we don't even need.
Yeah, this is the closet.
Here's the second guest bedroom. So if we have any guests, they can stay down here on this level or upstairs. So if we have any friends or family that want to come visit this summer, we've got plenty of places for you guys to stay.
We have plenty of room.
And then here is the main bathroom, which is really incredible. It's actually ginormous.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's really fancy. It's got this really nice shower, a tub. And one thing I really love is because we are staying on this level, the laundry is right here. So that's extremely convenient just to switch a load. And it's giving me a lot of ideas for like a future house that we might have of our own, to have the laundry so accessible, because you can easily just switch the laundry while you're doing other things, even like getting ready for work in the morning.
Yeah, this bathroom is probably nearly as big as our entire camper that we lived in.
I know, we've really upgraded from the fifth wheel days. So then you come down the hall here, more closets. They have some furniture stored here right now that's going to go to their other unit that they're renovating, which we weren't really bothered by that because we don't need all this space, so that we were like, it's fine, store your stuff here. This is a door that goes to the backyard, which is really nice.
You want to do that now?
Sure. See, it's so sunny. So we actually have our own fenced-in backyard, which we don't really need because we don't have any pets, but if we did, it would be really cool. But it would be just a really nice space to hang out, sit out here on the back porch. And there's a storage shed, which again, we don't need, but we have it just in case. And then we'll head in and show you the bedroom.
Yeah, this is the room we ended up choosing to sleep in. It's the biggest room, and it's cooler down here. Quite a bit of light comes in there, but it's not a huge deal yet. It could be something that we get blackout curtains or something later once it's light more, which it actually doesn't really get dark here until probably around 1 a.m. when it actually gets dark right now, which is kind of weird, but by the time we go to bed, it's dark enough that with the blinds closed, it's not a big deal. And
this is a west-facing window, I think, so at least the sun doesn't rise on this side of the house, so it's not like it's glaring right in at us, but it definitely, there's a lot of light in the morning. So if that becomes an issue, we may talk to the landlord about doing blackout curtains, but for now, we've been okay. But yeah, huge bed, lots of places for us to put our stuff. We both have a dresser, we have a big closet, so yeah, it's a really beautiful place. And again, I'm like, we just don't even need all this for 3 months, but it's been super cozy and comfortable, and we really enjoyed it. So.
Yeah, it's more than we want to spend, but it's really nice to have as much space as we have. And if we have multiple people come and visit at one time, it won't be a big deal.
Yeah. All right, so that's the Anchorage house tour. Reach out to us if you have any questions about housing in general as a traveler.
All right, see you guys.